Today on Overwatch This, the Sombra ARG has finished and culminated in a whole lot of nothing. We speculate as to why that might be. And with the BlizzCon schedule now revealed, we run through our predictions of what will and may not be at the show this year. Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us for episode 4 of Overwatch This. It is of course Joel here with the Ben Barrett.
Hello, I'm still here.
The angry Ben Barrett.
Oh, I'm so
Ben's
mad.
very angry today, and he's angry about Sombra.
For a change.
Just
for a new
so
thing.
our regular section, which we do towards the end, which is where is Sombra, we've got loads of stuff to talk about, and yet nothing at the same time.
We have loads of nothing to talk about.
So, I mean, essentially the long ARG website count up situation concluded last night in, well, let's say it, spectacularly dull fashion.
It was disappointing, anticlimactic, a mess up, I think I would call it if I was being nice.
Yeah.
I'm
going to jump in first of all. We still love Overwatch, obviously. We do a weekly show about Overwatch. Overwatch is great. But
this doesn't ruin the game. This has no impact on the game. I can go play it. I can have a good time. I can still go 20-1 with Reaper. That'll be
apart
great.
from the blood pouring out your ears.
Yeah, apart from all the anger.
So go on, tell us why you're angry and why everyone else is even angrier.
Yeah, there are people far angrier about this than I am. So literally here is what happened, okay? The count up finished, got to 100%. Great. The whole world at this point is watching. Okay, not the whole world.
Not even
right?
exaggeration.
But like
they paused the presidential debate preparations, everyone was on it.
There's a shot of Donald Trump being like, where is she?
Yeah.
What's this?
The ARG's finished.
So yeah, it finishes. There is a lot of people looking at this. Like, this is a game with 20 million sales, okay, right? So let's say 1% of those people are interested in what's going to be the next character. That's 200,000 people, right? There's 200,000 people looking at your ARG, which you've prepped for 2 months. You've given yourself 2 months of time to go and create something to show people when this finishes. So when it finishes, what happens is there is a small text update to the website that mentions Bastion and means nothing to nobody. And there's some stuff added to the source code which hints at what the next patch number will be. What the next patch number will be.
Just
even I don't care, right? And then there's like
say that.
I'm very excited about what the next patch number will be.
We got to write about it, so
I do. I'm glad I now know the number. And then there was a bug in game which confused some people, but I would say there's a 95% chance it means nothing. Where some of the numbers for how many cosmetics you could unlock for different characters are showing higher than the actual number that are in the game.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, not something that's going to excite anybody.
So
that's everything that was there.
Yeah.
If it hadn't. If that had just been something that had happened and people had discovered, oh, then it looks like the next patch number is going to be this, or oh, there's some tie between Sombra and Bastion, cool. After 2 months of waiting, after another ARG, that's
the thing, isn't it? Like,
it's pointless.
As far like the way I see it, the longer the build up, the longer this kind of ARG, whatever you do, like the longer you drag it out, the more you have to deliver when it finally ends. And this was like a 2-month dry hump, and now we're all there going, well, what? But what? And kind of, I suppose we should have all seen it coming a bit, because as we said last week, we're so close to BlizzCon that it seemed a bit mad that they were going to reveal anything of meaning this, like 2.5 weeks before BlizzCon. But it's still a balls up, but like, I don't know what they were thinking running an ARG that ends 2.5 weeks before BlizzCon in the first place.
Exactly. And they had time to, they already delayed the timer. So the timer at one point was going up by, I think it was 0.0036% every couple of minutes. They changed it to 0.0031, so it would end at exactly high noon Pacific time yesterday, which is 8 p.m. British and various other times around the world. So they already did that. So if they wanted to delay it to end the hour of the opening ceremony of BlizzCon, they could have done that. And everyone, people wouldn't have been happy. They would have been like, oh, okay. But that would have been so much better than it ending at a random time when people are then being like,
BlizzCon
oh, we're going to get
They could have set it up in the first place, and it had been going up at a set rate to end at BlizzCon. No one forced them to put it up that early.
They know when BlizzCon is going to be from, I would say, the end of every BlizzCon. They know when the next one's going to be. Like, it's the first weekend of November. It's been the first weekend of November since they changed when it was so that it could also operate as a World Championships, which was a couple of years ago. So there's no excuse for them ending it at this time and having nothing to show for it. If they didn't want to end it at this time, they didn't have to. And if they had nothing to show, why do it this way? So the dream was that the World of Warcraft team has a patch coming out, and everyone thought this patch was going to be a couple of weeks after BlizzCon. BlizzCon was going to be spent kind of detailing a bit more about it, even though everyone's already kind of been playing it on the PTR, and that something similar. But sorry, that they've made it so that's coming back. That's releasing before BlizzCon,
Right.
so that BlizzCon is going to be talking about the next patch. Nobody knows anything about that. That's super exciting. That was kind of surprising last week. So what people thought might happen was they would release Sombra onto the PTR this week, release her before BlizzCon or during BlizzCon, and then at BlizzCon there would be like another character or something else.
That is a bit of a dream.
Yeah, it is a dream. But after another team has already done it, and B, you've got this countdown going to before BlizzCon, it seemed like a possibility.
True.
But instead, what we end up with is just what can honestly be described as a real marketing opportunity that they've squandered. They've done serious damage. This sounds really wanky, but they've done serious damage to their brand here, and to
hashtag brand, hashtag damage,
hashtag content.
Yeah, sure,
and to the trust of players as well. I think.
Well, that is important, and like, you know, words like brand and content, whatever, they're not particularly like friendly, and we, you know, like they don't speak to kind of what gamers really care about. But gamers' trust in the people who make the games that they love is a really important thing, and it is definitely damaged, like you say, and like. As I keep saying, no one forced them to do this early. Like they brought it upon themselves. It's no great surprise that people have reacted like this. Obviously, it's the internet and it's people who are really passionate about games. So some people have gone way over the top, but there's some work to do to make up for this. I suppose the only hope is that they'll realise this and they'll kind of do something to make up for it. There's an interesting counterpoint though this week alone, which is obviously the Rockstar Red Dead situation, which has come not out of the blue in as much as like Red Dead 2 has been talked about for a long time, but Sunday we got the changing of the Rockstar website.
Yeah, they changed the website.
Yesterday, which was Tuesday, we got there will be a trailer on Thursday, and then tomorrow, i.e. Thursday, we'll get a trailer. So it's basically 4 days from tease to announce. Well, no, 2 days from tease to announce, 2 more days from announce to actual trailer. And knowing Rockstar, that won't be a 30-second teaser trailer. It'll be anything from like 3 to 5 minutes. If you think about the first GTA trailer, that was a trailer. You know, that was a real trailer. So almost certainly that will be what happens with Red Dead. And it's a great way to do it. And if you think back to last summer, just before, was it like May time when they announced Fallout? April, May when they announced Fallout? I think it was May. They went, well, here's Fallout 4. It looks like this. There's 5 minutes of trailer. Then they went to E3 and went, here's literally like half an hour of gameplay. Oh, and it's out in November? Like, and everyone loved that, and it's perfect. So, not that this is the same, because it's not a new game. It's a thing in a game. But like dragging stuff out and making people wait and teasing stuff and then not delivering is clearly something people hate. And doing the opposite gets loads of goodwill. And that's obvious at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And the problem is as well that this is kind of something that Blizzard have decided is how the game's story is going to be told. There's no single player. There's no mission packs coming. The only bit of kind of co-op content they've added is like a one-off scenario that's like a fairy tale within the world. It's not them telling the story. They're going to be doing it through graphic novels and through stuff like this where they give you a hint of something and then they explain it later on, or they put a bunch of different kind of unconnected facts, and then if you and your friends all talk about it for long enough, maybe you work out what the plot is there. But the first time they've done this in a big way is with this Sombra stuff, and they've completely messed it up. They've made it so I don't want to cover this again. I don't want to spend time looking into this.
That's not an option.
Yeah, that isn't an option for me. But if I'm a fan, and I'm and instead of covering it on a website, I'm writing about it on Reddit or investigating it on Discord, talking to my friends about it. Why am I ever going to want to do it again? Or at least like the next time they do this, why am I going to want to do it then?
And it's interesting because
they prove they can.
So far they've done other things pretty well. Like I thought the Anna Amari announce was handled quite well. I quite like the fact that it wasn't Sombra because everyone thought it was going to be Sombra and it was somebody else. They've done the summer update. They've done the Halloween update, which everyone's really liked. Okay, admittedly you could grouse slightly about the cost of like the items in each of those being too high, but still like they've been good things. They've like been stuff that people have liked, delivered relatively well, or at least without any great fuss. But like you say, this is the first time they've really dropped the ball.
And they've listened as well during that period, and all the way through the last 2 months, people were going, I really hope there's something at the end of this.
Yeah, of course.
Like, the only way this could have been, like, even nothing wouldn't have been worse, because then at least then it would be funnier, at least. Then it would be like, oh, okay, I see. If it had just been, like, a link to the BlizzCon website, then, like, at least that's kind of definitive answer. Whereas this is just, like, 2 more hints that no one's going to be bothered to explore properly,
as
because
I said
we've
last
already
week,
done it.
They could have got away with, like, a 20-second teaser trailer that ended with a time and a date, i.e. the first day of BlizzCon, and so implying everything will be revealed then. That is honestly all they had to do, and people probably, like, some people would have been dissatisfied with that, but that probably would have diffused, like, all of the anger that they've had since, 8 o'clock last night. So it really is a big cock-up.
Yeah, and even if there are, like, even if these secrets are going somewhere, just people aren't going to look into it. Like, there were tools that were created when the ARG originally started that just aren't online anymore, because everyone thought, oh, okay, we're waiting for this countdown to finish. And nobody's going to, like, go back and remake all that, and you're not going to get that community passion for looking into this stuff back. You're not going to get a moment again, like last night, where however much of the community is all online going, what's going to happen? Oh, it was nothing. And they're not going to do it next time either, because you've proved that you're not going to show them anything.
No, like I said, they'll have to do something very different. It's interesting, though, because Blizzard aren't a company that drops the ball like this very often. So assuming something other than, like, gross incompetence, which we probably should assume, because, like, that would be the fair thing to do with a company that gets things right most of the time.
Yeah, agreed.
Why would this have happened?
So I've got 2 theories. Both of these are, like, this is pure speculation. There's nothing really to go off with these beyond some simple observations. The first possibility is that a patch was meant to go live last night, either on the PTR or on the main servers, so that basically that something else was meant to happen and it didn't, because of, game development's really hard, right? Like, and that is a fair excuse. Like, you have timelines and sometimes you don't hit them. There's a reason Blizzard don't give release dates until, like, 2 or 3 months before their games come out, because they want to get things right, and when they go wrong, they don't want to delay games. They just want to work on it until it's ready to go. So it's possible that a PTR patch was meant to go up, and it didn't because of some bug. However, every hour that passes since the time that was being counted down to, that becomes less likely.
Yeah.
If it had gone live at 11 last night,
believe that
rather than 8, yeah, exactly. Now I don't think that's possible. At the time, I waited up until, like, another 3 hours and went, okay, is this going to happen or not? It didn't. They didn't patch at the time they normally patch at, which is 11 p.m. here, and about 3 p.m. in the States, I think. So beyond that, the other possibility, and I think this is now fairly likely, is that the whole ARG was being run by a team of PR/community people that were separate from the development side, and they just weren't communicating enough about getting stuff to show.
I mean, that is possible, but again, it doesn't seem typical. It's not like that's
still
not a thing you'd
atypical.
see from Blizzard. Like, I don't know. It's really weird. And like, on the side of, like, oh, maybe something's supposed to go live and they didn't. This ARG's been running 2 months. You'd have a failsafe. You'd have a thing. As I say, it could even be like a tiny teaser trailer that you'd like
get some
kind of crack the safe open and go, in case of emergency, break out teaser trailer. That's all you need, and you don't run a thing like this, which has attracted so much attention, without thinking about that possibility.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it was run by the PR and the community team, and they worked out or found out that they weren't going to get as much support from the developers as they thought, they had more than 2 months, because there was, like, the whole time when the ARG was running before that, before the countdown showed up.
Yeah, true.
Where all you've got to do is get some concept art, or get one bit of concept art, right? Get 5 really good fan artists, make them sign an NDA before you tell them anything, get them to make 5 bits of fan art based off that bit of concept art, show that, give a date of BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be, like, jumping up and down about that, because by the time this finished, all anybody wanted was to play her and to know exactly how she played and get a gameplay trailer and all the rest of it. But that is a lot better than nothing.
That's what I mean. It didn't have to be much. It just had to be more than nothing. So, I mean, assuming, well, I think it can either go one of 2 ways. I think the likelihood is now that they will retreat into their shell and clam up until BlizzCon, but I think there's a small possibility, because it's Blizzard and generally they're very good at servicing their community, they will realise how badly they fucked up, and at the very least might come out and say, sorry, tune in at BlizzCon. I feel like it would be compounding the misstep to just stay quiet for the next 2.5 weeks.
Particularly this team. Blizzard have done Blizzard are a company that has spent a lot of time working out how to talk to a community because they were one of the first companies to have one on the size of World of Warcraft. And obviously that's where pretty much the whole company has spun off from since WoW came out. It's where most of the people working on Overwatch worked beforehand. It's where Jeff Kaplan kind of made his name as a game designer, was leading World of Warcraft. So I would be surprised if through all that they haven't realised that just clamming up isn't going to actually solve this. They can just go silent because everybody knows something will be at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
They don't need to say that. But
it's not wise, though.
No, it isn't sensible. And the way particularly Jeff Kaplan has dealt with the community is he's been very honest. He's been very open in interviews with us, in interviews with other outlets, in the stuff he puts out, like officially from Blizzard. It's all really open and honest about, you know, problems that are being had by the community and ways that they're going to be fixed. So I would be surprised if he personally doesn't want to say something about it.
He wants. You can know he wants to do one of his hostage videos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He definitely wants to do that.
I mean, this time it'd be a lot more like one, I expect. And even if it is just 2 minutes of him being like, "Look, we messed up. You'll find out more at BlizzCon." And that's it. Like, even if that would again be better than what we've received so far,
would.
And it would just make so much goodwill.
People really appreciate the honesty of saying that we made a mistake. Like, obviously the mistake's been made and it's still a mistake, but people really appreciate it more if you just front up to it rather than just saying nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that, like once we get to BlizzCon, I mean, the first question I'm going to be asked is going to be what happened. Like, please explain. Can you just give me the 6-month timeline of when you started teasing this character to when the countdown ended with nothing? And hopefully they're willing to answer that question. I'm not going to be the only person asking, I can tell you that much for free. And honestly, I'm sure that you could spend a full 30-minute interview period just going, no, but seriously, what? So we're going to find out what happened. That'll be nice. But it might be until BlizzCon before we get some proper answers as to exactly what happened throughout the year.
So we've said it about a dozen times now, but BlizzCon. Yeah, it's happening. It's a couple of weeks away. We have the schedule now. We talked about it last week. We have the schedule. We have the show floor map. Doesn't tell us a lot, but it tells us a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. So the first thing you look for when a BlizzCon schedule comes out is a gap. Now, in the year that Overwatch is released, sells, as we said, 20 million copies plus, has all this hype around it, is, you know, enough to bring down their website when they don't announce something, as last night. Having their lead panel when, you know, everyone in the EU is still awake and everyone's still paying attention be Hearthstone rather than Overwatch is fairly interesting. It is interesting.
Like it's one of a couple of things, and like I've done enough trade shows now to realize that doesn't necessarily, just because it's on the schedule, doesn't necessarily mean they can't change it or they can't fix like a slot to announce something. But there is also the possibility that like the corporate vision or the goal for the next 12 months is, okay, Overwatch is doing brilliantly, we need to focus a bit more on Hearthstone because we don't want to, you know, the player base to drop off, or we need it to be making more money or something like that. So their agenda, whether it suits like Blizzard fans or Overwatch fans, maybe push Hearthstone harder this BlizzCon because we want it to do well, or it's maybe underperforming against projections or expectations. It could be that. I mean, as I say, it could be that they've put this schedule out there and they will change it and they will announce something, or it could be an agenda thing. But either way, we're all not assuming, almost guaranteeing we'll get Sombra, right?
Yeah, so
it might just not be the first
stuff.
thing they announce as BlizzCon opens.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So for the Overwatch stuff, what will happen is there's the hour-long opening ceremony. In there will be all the big announcements, because A, that's broadcast for free online, B, they want to get all that stuff out there.
Yeah.
So that's where you'll see whatever they're doing, you know, the next StarCraft 2, a little bit of single-player content. It's where you'll see something about World of Warcraft's next patch, the next Hearthstone expansion, and yeah, Overwatch's new character, probably a new map based on what Kaplan said last week in his developer insights video. So you'll see them then, you'll get a trailer then, and then later on in the panel that is that day, I think it's about 3 hours later, it's after the Hearthstone one, they'll probably, you know, they'll show the trailer again and they'll explore her abilities and they'll show, you know, concept art from initial designs through to finalized version. We saw that with Mei and Genji last year.
Yeah.
And then probably some surprises. Like I
do you
expect
think
there will be some
then? Do you think then live on the PTR?
No, I think it'll go live on the PTR
The following-
2 days after
okay.
BlizzCon. It'll be playable on the BlizzCon show floor.
Yeah.
That version or a version incredibly similar to that will go live on the PTR.
Yeah, that would
a
make
couple
sense.
of days later. That's all very predictable. I expect there will also be a surprise in there of some sort. I really hope there's a surprise in there of some sort. This does look like a quiet show overall, but it is pretty easy for them to also go, oh, and here's a look at the next character. Or
yeah, they could do that. Personally, my instinct is that the surprise, if it comes, won't be an Overwatch surprise.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like, obviously, this is an Overwatch show, but I'm sure loads of the Overwatch fans, of Blizzard fans in general, the one we were kind of expecting, / are still expecting, is something Diablo related, because there's been a load of like rumors. There's been this stuff on Twitter over the past 10 days or so. Diablo has an oddly small presence at the show based on the schedule, and it's a small presence in like, conversely, it makes me think something's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not quite like, if there was nothing, you'd be like, okay, something's
yeah,
going on. It's not quite low enough that it's like 100% definitely happening.
No,
but at the same time, it's not high enough that they're definitely prepping.
There's like two panels. There's like a 20th anniversary thing, and then what is it?
There's
like
an art panel.
Yeah, I mean, in the year when it's heavily rumored, that feels so light that it kind of feels like they're covering something up in terms of not putting it on the schedule. And like you say, they've got this opening ceremony window where they could announce anything
they could literally go, hey, Diablo 4's happening, that Hearthstone panel's happening 15 minutes later than we said.
Yeah.
There's going to be half an hour on Diablo 4 at the end of this. Like, that could happen. And given everybody guessed, like last time, when there was a big gap in the schedule, everybody went, well, obviously you're announcing something.
Yeah.
They probably do want to avoid that this time.
Exactly.
There is also there's like a Diablo party on the Friday night that's open to everybody. It's happening like outside the convention hall.
Ain't no party like a Diablo party.
Oh, there ain't no party like a BlizzCon party.
Well, quite.
And like, there's going to be food trucks there, and I think it's all going to be free, and you don't need a BlizzCon ticket to get there or anything.
Wow,
and
that'll be busy.
Yeah, they said there was going to be surprises there. That's not where you would announce, like, that's not going to be streamed. But then again, I would have said that about Gamescom too, and then they showed like a WoW patch trailer, and that was a pretty big deal at the time. That was before Legion came out. It was this hugely requested dungeon, like, based around this stuff that people have been rumored for years, and they showed that at just...
Yeah, I was stood there trying to drink a WoW-themed cocktail, and I was going, oh, look, a thing is happening.
What is this? Yeah. And they didn't stream that. They had like a mini stream slightly afterwards. Like, it wasn't on the official site. It was on a community stream. They talked about it. They didn't show the trailer. That all got uploaded to like YouTube separately. So it is possible that they would just go, yeah, Diablo 4's happening at this like party with like 2,000 people there.
I don't think so. I think
that's a lot. That's
as you say, there's a bit there, so maybe it is just what they say it's going to be. I think there'll be something. I think it'll be announced in the opening panel, even if it's like, I don't know, some sort of remastery situation. I think there's going to be something Diablo there. I think we'll see the next, as you say, I think we'll see the next Overwatch character, i.e. Sombra. People there will play it. It'll come out a few days later. And maybe if we're lucky, / they want to make up for dropping the ball on this ARG, we might get a little bit more than they'd planned as kind of fan service. Beyond that, there'll be new Hearthstone content. As you said, it's the lead game this year, and there'll be new bits and pieces for everything else. So it's kind of exciting. It's just whether it's extra exciting or just like par exciting, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think other than the year where it was very obvious they had something big to announce, most years do look quiet before you go.
Yeah.
Other than the ones where they're announcing like a new WoW expansion, where that's usually pretty obvious as well, because they have a 1.5 hour WoW panel booked for straight after the opening ceremony. And obviously, we're not even a patch into the new WoW expansion, so it's not like they're going to announce a new one this year. No, of course not. They do look like quite quiet, and then you get there and the opening ceremony is like announcement, and you're like, oh, okay. So, I mean, I would never miss it. Like,
no, it'll absolutely be worth going to. And like you say, it might just be the case that last year it was like crushingly obvious that they were going to announce something because they'd got this gap on the schedule, and they probably just, even if they're announcing something, they just learned from that it's too obvious to do it like that.
Yeah, quite.
Okay, that about wraps it up for this week. So join us next Wednesday for episode 5, when we'll be further investigating the fallout from this whole Sombra debacle, and we'll be running through the final changes before BlizzCon.